And welcome to week 10. We're really rolling along now, getting close to the end. And that's what a lot of week 10 is about. So, um, you should be doing some reading now. In particular, chapter 15. Just finding it, hold on. Oh yes, 15 is floating and positioning. You're definitely going to use floating in your resume. That's how you're going to handle your photos. I already gave you a little early quick glimpse of floating. You're going to have the floating exercise. You also learn how to use you also have just a touch of Flexbox coming up. I'm going to show you the Flexbox before you do a bigger Flexbox thing next week. So Flexbox is another way to move things around, especially, and it's an alternative to floating for multi things like a gallery of a whole bunch of stuff that's all set side by side. That's the most common use of it. But when you want to put a single photo, for instance, or maybe with a caption, and have it sit in the text, have the text run around it, that's floating. So that's a big thing this week. Then chapter 16, as I said, Flexbox in particular, it'd be good to take a scan through chapter 16. Chapter 16 will be more important next week. But also, if you choose to do the extra credit, which is listed down below, you'll want to be looking at chapter 16, but that's where it comes from. We're gonna, although listed first in this week is the resume, it's not actually due until Friday. Resume 5. I gave you some extra time with this stage. Hopefully, if there's anybody behind, you can catch up now. We're definitely this is a big step where you're adding links. You're adding your color scheme, which includes how you style links. Right? You're breaking up the page into multiple pages. Each one has to be fully independent, have its own title and an H1, and perhaps edited your H2s and so on. So a lot going on with this stage. But still, if you got behind this, there's time to catch back up here. And remember, yes, you get graded on these individual stages, but the final, how it's really in the end, is the biggest determinant of your grade. So getting a little behind it's unfortunate, but it's not a disaster necessarily. And please, if that's happening to you, or you're having problems with anything else, please get in touch with me. We can either meet in person, meet on Zoom, one thing or another, to get this to help you out. And what else is going on? So that's the resume. And after this resume stage, which you'll be graded on, and then, of course, get feedback on, which is the most important thing, to move to resume final. So that we're moving into resume final now. So the last stuff that'll be it. Okay, now also, so we're going to have a size your photo exercise, which should be pretty easy. It's kind of like a repeat of the image sizing from a while back. And in fact, the handout doesn't even include the instructions because I ask you to go back and look at that. I'll give you a little more in the video. It's time to get some real photos of yourself now and actually size them and get them ready to use. Floating and positioning, that's exercise, which also has some Flexbox in it too, although I won't really explain Flexbox yet, but hopefully you'll read about it. I'll explain it next week. And then I'm going to introduce 2 significant extra credit projects for anybody. You're getting a little ahead. This sort of stuff, you've been breezing through it. It's not that bad. Maybe you want to take on something a little extra. So obviously, don't do this extra credit if you're having trouble keeping up with the resume. And you don't have to do it all at once. And there's multiple pieces to it also. And it's not due until the very end of the semester. So I stick it here now because I figured that was a good place to put it, because this is not an overly packed week. It is not. So this is the week where I'm hoping you can spend some extra time on your resume to pull it together. And there's a presentation on floating in here and the resource files you need for the extra credit and for the floating exercise. So that's week 10. Keep up with it and stay in touch.